Hi, my name's Alison Solomon and I'm a storyteller.
And I'm Elizabeth Woolwich, and I'm the director here at the Royal Crown Derby Museum.
And we just want to talk to each other really and tell you about how the Collecting Home project came about. Let's cast our minds back. I think it was back in 2021.
Yeah, I think we might have been between lockdowns.
That's right.
Oh,
yeah.
remember those?
Yes, oh gosh, well, try not to remember
Well,
those.
quite.
But yes, it was between lockdowns. And I know for myself, I was just kind of midway through Community Creative Fellowship and looking to partner with a company in Derby, but also I was obviously, like everybody else in the whole of the UK and the world, locked in our houses. So really having that opportunity to kind of get familiar with the items and the objects that are in the home, but I don't know, after so many years of being in the home and living with these items that you no longer see. And I was like, oh gosh, that item, that reminds me of something. It gives me a certain emotion in my body and stuff like that. And I was looking at little items in the house, and especially kind of Crown Derby items, and thinking they kind of emote a really nice, fond memory.
Yeah, I think we've all got things, haven't we, that we treasure, that, the things that we've collected and decided to keep in our lives, they're always something symbolic to us, whether it's a photograph album or an old shoe or a piece of Royal Crown Derby. But they're always things that have got that really direct connection to what we consider to be the narrative of our own lives. So this was something that Alison and I talked about when she first came in. I was sitting on reception and she just wandered in to see what was going on. And I was a little bit bored because it was very quiet. So I was delighted to see a visitor, especially in between the lockdowns when we didn't have a lot of visitors. And so I was really happy to have somebody to chat to, and somebody who had so many interesting things to say. So very quickly we got talking about what our possessions mean to us and those sorts of things. And she started telling me some stuff I didn't know about the significance of Royal Crown Derby within her community.
Absolutely. So yeah, I was asking about, I was basically talking about how Royal Crown Derby is widely collected in the Caribbean community in Derby, in Derbyshire, and that there's a history going way back of collecting, and that did Royal Crown Derby Museum know about it?
We didn't.
So there, the kind of blossoms started to be started to form, and hence a kind of dialogue started, didn't it? Really, because I wanted to celebrate and document these stories that possibly had never been told, had never been shared, definitely not documented or archived. So it was like the start of this amazing new idea and project. So
yeah, and I really was keen on exploring how we could expand the stories we tell in the museum, because one of the interesting things about Royal Crown Derby is it's a sort of domestic product. It's in people's houses. It means a million different things to the million different people who own it. And I really wanted to expand our storytelling ability through including the voices of some of the variety of people who own Royal Crown Derby and what it means to them. Now, we already told the stories of high-profile people, millionaires who owned Royal Crown Derby. But what is just as significant as that is you, me, everybody who owns a piece. Your story is just as interesting as the story of Judge Gary, who was a millionaire who bought thousands of pieces from us. But you know, all of those are personal stories. And we'd already done a project the year before looking at some of the stories from the Gypsy, Roma and Traveller communities. And so this was a really natural way to expand our knowledge of what Royal Crown Derby means to different peoples, both here in the UK and further afield. So basically, we carried on talking about it and really didn't have the opportunity to take it forward until we saw some funding opportunity from the Association of Independent Museums, known as AIM, and the Heritage Lottery Fund, who were coming together to fund some museums to work with new audiences. And this seemed like a really natural fit for what we had already been thinking about doing.
Absolutely. So yeah, we kind of jumped on it, and we were excited by the opportunity of oral histories. There's so, you know, storytelling is so vast. It can be creative, it can be historical, it can be all those things, and to just kind of connect with the community, for them to tell their stories, even though they may not think they have actually got a story to tell.
Everybody has a story to tell.
Everybody has a story to tell. So, so yeah, we were very, 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 very fortunate to be gifted the funding.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, I was really fortunate in working with a partner like Alison, who was so well connected. So, you know, she was a fantastic bridge between the museum and the communities we wanted to reach out to. As she says in a video, you know, she's a Derby native, so she's got years of knowledge of the Derby scene, which I'm not a Derby native. So Alison has a much greater knowledge actually of Derby than me. I moved to Derby for this job, which I took just 3 years ago. So really, I couldn't have done it without her experience and her networks and her connections. And through the project, I've met, probably you've met actually, some people you didn't know before as well. Absolutely. So, you know, some really fascinating people.
Fascinating people. It was really interesting because we met people, maybe the quietest people in the community, and gave them a voice. So people that probably aren't used to speaking, aren't necessarily approached to participate in these projects. And, you know, at first they were a little bit intimidated, a little bit quiet. But when they understood the actual relevance behind the project, then they came forward and they you know, they were very generous with their time and with their stories. And we've met some amazing people. And you mentioned Ina. That was a blessing.
It was.
It was a blessing, you know, to meet with Ina, who has a connection here and has worked here in the past, and was very happy to come back and to almost retrace her steps and you know, see where she actually worked within this building.
I think one of my favourite days was when she brought her daughter and her granddaughter, and she was able to give them a tour of the factory as she had remembered it when she worked here. That was really special.
Absolutely, really special. So we've got stories like that, and we've got other stories of, you know, family bonds and things like that. You know, pieces collected that brought family together from abroad, linking families in Jamaica and over here. We did a number of open days.
We did.
Which was fabulous, and we did a little pop-up as well, which allowed us to escape the factory and be within the city centre, which was really, really lovely, and again opened us up to different people.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, we're a little bit out of the city centre here on the Osmaston Road. So one thing that was really lovely was to take some of the key items from our collections into the city centre and talk to probably, you know, quite a different set of people, because people who come here to the museum, they've made an effort, they've come deliberately here. But people wandering past on the street in the city centre who were accosted by very determined set of volunteers saying, you do want to hear the stories about Royal Crown Derby, don't you? But it was nice to be able to tell our stories to a much wider range of people. And, you know, that's something which is an important legacy of this project. That not only are we able to tell a broader range of stories, we hope that because the archive is digitised, we're able to tell them to a broader range of people. Absolutely. And so we spent a really constructive year collecting our stories, welcoming storytellers here to the museum and taking our museum out to other places. And we've got a lovely archive of stories, which we hope won't be static, actually. I mean, if we want to say one thing at the end, all right, yes, the funding is a fixed term project. And so going out and doing workshops, that'll come to an end. But that doesn't mean we're stopping collecting stories. Absolutely. If you have a story to tell and you feel it would look and feel happy in our archive, then please share it with us.
Absolutely, please share it with us, because, the year and a bit has flown by, and I know that I haven't been able to reach as many people as I know are out there, because there's obviously a massive African Caribbean community, Black Caribbean community in Derby and Derbyshire. So I know there's people out there that still have stories. I have people coming up to me every day that they've got, have stories, who haven't yet been able to have them videoed or recorded in any way. So yeah, this is not ended. It's still going on. So please do continue.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't think you need any special equipment. We are lucky to have a fantastic photographer, high photographer. That's breaking the fourth wall, isn't it? But you don't need to have a professional photographer. You need a friend with an iPhone.
Absolutely.
And just be yourself, relax, tell your story. Yeah. And then you can easily see how to get in touch with us on the website, Collecting Home. And we'd be delighted to include your story in the archive.
Absolutely. So thank you for listening to our story.